She sat at the piano, her hands trembling, not from fear of the keys but from the weight of every stair in the room. The principal smirked, convinced she didn't belong, certain she would fail. Whispers turned to laughter, and judgment filled the air before a single note was played. But what no one knew was that this moment would shatter expectations, silence an entire crowd, and expose a truth they never saw coming. The question is, how do you silence prejudice when your only weapon is music? For most students, school was a place to blend in, to follow the routine of bells and classrooms. But for Maya, it was different. At just 16, she carried a talent far bigger than the walls of her high school, a gift for music that had been nurtured since childhood. Every spare moment at home was spent at the piano, her fingers dancing across keys with a grace that felt effortless. Her grandmother had been the one who first placed her tiny hands on a keyboard, whispering words she never forgot. Play like the world is listening, because one day it will. And so Maya practiced day after day, pouring herself into melodies that became her escape, her safe place. But at school, her brilliance wasn't always recognized. Whispers followed her down the hallways. Teachers overlooked her potential. To some, she wasn't the talented musician. She was just the black girl, someone already judged before she opened her mouth or touched the piano keys. So when the school announced its annual talent showcase, Maya saw more than a stage. She saw an opportunity, not just to perform, but to prove, if only for one night, that she was more than the labels others had given her. What she didn't realize was that this stage wouldn't just test her music, it would test the very core of her dignity. The day of the showcase arrived, and the school auditorium buzzed with excitement. Students rehearsed in the corners, their voices echoing through the halls. Parents filled the seats with eager smiles. But for Maya, the atmosphere felt heavy. The moment her name was announced, the energy shifted. Whispers rippled through the audience like wildfire. Some laughed quietly, others leaned in, curious but doubtful. And then there was the principal, front and center, arms crossed, a smirk tugging at his lips. Earlier that week, he had scoffed loud enough for others to hear. "If she plays piano, I quit." To him, it wasn't a joke. It was a declaration of who he believed belonged on that stage, and who didn't. Maya's heart raced, not from stage fright, but from something deeper. This wasn't just about a performance, it was about her very right to be there. She walked onto the stage, every step echoing in the silence. The laughter dimmed, replaced by the sharp weight of expectation. She sat at the bench, adjusting the piano stool as dozens of eyes drilled into her back. A cough from the front row broke the stillness. "This should be good," someone muttered, sending a ripple of snickers through the crowd. Maya closed her eyes for a moment. She thought of her grandmother, of long nights practicing in the dim glow of their living room lamp, of the way music had always been her voice when words failed. Those memories steadied her hands as she reached for the keys. The lights above seemed hotter, the silence more suffocating. Around her, impatience thickened. Parents shifted in their seats. The principal tapped his fingers against his chair, pretending to be bored. The unspoken message was clear: fail, and you confirm every doubt in this room. Her fingers hovered above the ivory keys, trembling ever so slightly. She had a choice: to let their prejudice define her, or to let her music speak louder than all their doubt. And then she pressed down on the first note. The sound rang out, pure, flawless, undeniable. One note became two, then a cascade of melodies poured from her hands. The music rose like a wave, sweeping across the room with a force no one expected. This wasn't a student fumbling nervously through a recital. This was mastery. Grace, discipline, and raw emotion woven into every key. The audience shifted. The smirks faded. Whispers died in their throats. Even the restless students in the back sat still, captivated. Maya's playing wasn't just beautiful, it was defiant. Every crescendo shouted against prejudice. Every soft note whispered her truth. "I belong. I am more than what you see." The principal's smug grin faltered. His eyes darted around, searching for a crack in her performance, but there was none. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, no longer in control of the narrative he had written in his head. The girl he had mocked had silenced him without saying a single word. When the final note lingered, it hung in the air like a spell. For a heartbeat, the room froze. No applause, no movement, just stunned silence. And then, almost reluctantly, clapping began. Soft at first, then building until the auditorium roared with applause. But Maya didn't smile. She didn't look to the cheering crowd. Her eyes stayed fixed on the principal, the man who had doubted her most. And in his pale, speechless face, she saw the truth. She hadn't just played the piano. She had silenced prejudice. As the applause washed over her, Maya rose from the bench with quiet strength. She had come to the stage as a target of ridicule, but she walked away as something undeniable. Proof that talent knows no boundaries, that greatness cannot be silenced by bias. The principal never repeated his mocking words again. In fact, he avoided her gaze for weeks afterward. But Maya no longer needed his recognition. She had discovered something far greater, power that lived within her music, strength that no prejudice could erase. Still, Maya knew the performance didn't erase the larger truth. Racism doesn't vanish with a song. It lingers in whispers, in lowered expectations, in the quiet ways people decide who belongs and who doesn't. Her music had done was shine a light, forcing people, only for a moment, to see her humanity, her brilliance, her truth. That's what makes her story bigger than one girl on a stage. The story of countless others who've been underestimated, dismissed, or silenced because of the color of their skin. It's a reminder that injustice doesn't always arrive as shouting or violence. Sometimes it comes as a laugh, a smirk, a dismissive comment designed to make someone feel small. The question remains, how many more talents must prove themselves before the world finally stops demanding proof of worth? Till that day comes, stories like Maya's remind us of an unshakable truth. Prejudice can wound, can never silence greatness. It's the power of Maya's story. Reminder that even in the face of prejudice, truth and talent can't be silenced. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know what this story means to you. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you never miss the next story that challenges, inspires, and sparks conversation. Together we can keep these voices alive.